everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan, aka Simply Simmer, and today's Sims 4 speed build is inspired by Toy Story. So if you're excited to check out this build, make sure to smash that like button, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I do have new videos coming out every week that are inspired by different TV shows and movies. So starting out, I am placing this lot in Evergreen Harbor in the Minor Mansion lot. The movie that I chose to build from is actually the first Toy Story, and so this is the house that they're actually moving out of. The majority of this house is shown in the first 5 minutes of the movie, so we don't really see all of the rooms of the house, but we do get to see Andy's room, obviously, and then the living room, the staircase / entryway area, a little bit of the dining room, and I think we do see for just a second a little bit of the kitchen floor. There's also a Toy Story video game, and I sifted through hours and hours of different footage from that video game, but I couldn't find anything for the mom's room, the bathroom, or for a full view of the kitchen. I could be wrong on that though, so if I missed something in that video game or if I missed something throughout the movie, let me know in the comments and I will maybe redo it again in the future. But I just kind of went with what I thought would fit best for this house, and I think it turned out pretty good. So I'm starting out with the exterior of the house, and there are several different scenes that this exterior is shown, so it's pretty easy to get this one down pretty pat. It's a pretty basic shape. The house itself is just a rectangle, and then there is a little garage off to the side, so it really wasn't a whole lot of work to get the base part of this house down. So the front porch is pretty cute. It's just really small. There's just a little brick wall on both sides of the porch and then some columns supporting that little roof on top of it. And then we do have a few plants that I'm going to be placing down here in just a moment as well. And on the front of each roof piece, there is a small circular vent, so I used one of the pieces from Journey to Batu to recreate that. Underneath both sides of the roof on the house, there are some little pieces kind of sticking out to support the roof. So I placed down a whole bunch of these little corbels, and I believe the ones that I chose came from cats and dogs. So here's where I'm starting to place the garden that's in the front of the house. So it's pretty simple. I just placed 2 trees that I sized down, and then I filled in the space between them with some purple flowers and some yellow flowers as well. And then alongside the house, there's actually some long hedge bushes, so I just kind of lined those up evenly against the house. And then just to kind of give it more of a uniform look, I placed some of the dirt paint terrain, and I just kind of kept that in between the house and the fence. Since we don't have cars in the game, we don't really have a whole lot of garage options, so pretty much anytime that I'm making a garage, I just use the piece that came with City Living, and it's just the DIY garage mural. And depending on the lot, I either use the roll-up one because it's a little bit taller, like I used for this build, and then there is also just the basic single-story, lowest height wall option as well. Next, I'm working on the floor plan, and like I said, not all of this house is shown in the movie. So this first area that I'm starting on is just the entryway into the house, and then the rest of the bottom floor has the living room, the kitchen, and the dining room. Now I do kind of go back and forth on some of my choices here, so I do have a little piece sticking out in the living room that I'm going to delete in just a few moments here. That was supposed to be the fireplace, but I ended up going with a different idea for that. Separating the living room and the dining room, they have this weird archway that's kind of open but also closed at the same time, and it looks like they've got some bookshelves kind of separating them as well. So I'll go back and I'll actually furnish that in just a few minutes, but I did use some half walls to kind of start off where that's going to go. And then finally, before we move upstairs, I did just go through and I placed down some of the different options as far as wallpaper goes and the flooring. And then now we're moving upstairs where there's Andy and Molly's room, the mom's room, and then I also put a bathroom up here as well. There's also a landing at the top of the stairs that's shown right at the start of the movie when Andy is running around throughout the house with Woody on his shoulders. And then there are also a few different closets in here as well. Some of them are shown, like the one at the end of the hallway past Andy and Molly's room, but then I also put a closet in the mom's room as well. And just to kind of use some more of those new items from the Dream Decorator pack, I did make this one a little bit of a walk-in closet, and I'll go through quickly later whenever I furnish that area, but I didn't spend a ton of time on it since it's not something that's actually shown in the movie. So before I start furnishing the home, I do go back and I changed out the stairs that are in the entryway, and then I also go through the kitchen. Now, there's only a split second that the kitchen is shown that I could find, and that is during the birthday party when Andy's mom kicks open the door and then steps on the little army guys. You can see the floor for just a second, and that's really about it that I could find in the movie. So that's about as much as I could figure out. I saw that it was a green and yellow floor, so I used a couple different tiles to create that look. So on the landing, they do have kind of like a cowboy Wild West painting at the top, and I used one of the pieces from Strangerville to place that there. They do have a little cabinet at the top of the stairs as well, so I used one of the pieces from Snowy Escape, but I sized it down a lot so that then it would fit and still have those stairs be functional. And then down the side of the stairs, they do have a few different family photos that are just kind of cascading as you go down the stairs. In front of the door, they do have a green and white striped rug, so I was able to place this one that was pretty close to that appearance. And it is a little bit off center, so it's not completely straight. So to kind of make it a little crooked, I used the Sims 3 camera to rotate it. Alongside the stairs, they do have a small little console table with just a few things on it, like a lamp and a plant. And they do have a home landline there as well, but we don't have those anymore, so I wasn't able to place that. We're moving into the living room, and there are bookshelves kind of lining the entire wall between the living room and the entryway, so I used some of these that I believe came with the Parenthood pack. So a lot of the furniture that's in the living room kind of looks a little more dated, and there's only so many options that I had to choose from, and I did end up kind of going back and forth on a lot of these choices. So you'll definitely see things get added and deleted and added again, especially since there's only a little bit of room in this living room, and I didn't want anything to catch on fire if it was too close to the fireplace. I've definitely had that happen more than a few times in my Sims game, so I didn't want that to happen to you if you choose to download this lot from the gallery. Which, by the way, I do have this uploaded, and all of my gallery information is listed in the description below the video. So at the beginning of the movie, when Woody and Andy are kind of running through the house, there's a moment where he sits down on a chair and spins around, and the camera spins really fast throughout this living room. And that's where I got a lot of the references for this room and how I knew where everything was. Although I did have to keep pausing, and everything was extremely blurry on my screenshots when I was trying to look back on them. But it does just kind of look like they've got a few different chairs in there, and then they do have a little TV in the corner, and then of course the fireplace. And now we're jumping back over to that wall that's separating the living room and the dining room, and it's just kind of like these weird bookshelf cabinet things that are kind of separating the two rooms. So these little cabinets came from Cats and Dogs, and I thought that they worked really well for this space. And then it also looked like they had a record player next to the fireplace, so I did place this one that I believe came from Get Famous. Next, we're moving into the dining room, and there really wasn't a whole lot that I could see of this. There's just one part at the very beginning before the party where Andy's mom is in there setting up, and you can kind of just see that there's a few extra chairs in there and then lots of party decorations. Now, I wasn't sure what approach I wanted to take with this, whether I wanted to set it as like a party scene or just how it would be on any normal day. So I just kind of placed a table with some chairs, and not all of them match because some of them looks like they were maybe brought out just specifically for the party. And then of course I had to put a little high chair for Molly in the corner. And then just to wrap up the rest of that room, I just placed a few other little odds and ends on the walls, but this was nothing that was seen in the movie. Into the kitchen, and my gut reaction was to use the Country Kitchen Kit pack, but I just used those on my Bob's Burgers build, and I didn't want to get in the habit of only using those items, so I actually used these cabinets and counters from the Cool Kitchen pack. They kind of have this like brownish color that I feel like was seen in every kitchen back in the 90s, so that worked pretty well, and then I just placed some kind of dingy looking appliances as well. Next, we're moving upstairs, and I'm starting off with the mom's room, well, specifically the closet in the mom's room. I just wanted to use some of those Dream Home Decorator items, and I thought that this little walk-in closet would be really good for that. Now, it's never actually talked about in the movie, but there's a lot of speculation that Andy's dad had recently died. So with that, I didn't want it to seem like maybe they had already gotten rid of all of his things, so I did place one of these shelves with some blue clothing, just to kind of represent that maybe the dad was still there and kind of had his stuff around. But let me know what you think about that whole thought in the comments. I have heard that Woody was his dad's favorite toy, and he had passed it on to Andy, which is why Woody was Andy's favorite toy. So I thought that that was a really interesting take, and let me know what other kinds of Pixar conspiracies you've heard of, because I love reading into things like that. And then for the mom's room, I didn't really do a whole lot in here. I just kind of placed a bed with some seating and a vanity, and then I do go back and just place a few things on the walls. The only way I could figure out where to put the bathroom was to put it off of her bedroom. I imagine there's probably a different way that this could have been put together, because I'd hate for the only way to access the only bathroom in the house would be to walk through the master bedroom, but you never really know. Last but not least, we're moving into Molly and Andy's room. So this is obviously the room that's seen the most throughout the movie. To recreate the walls, we didn't really have anything that's specifically with clouds on it, so I did just use this light blue wall covering, and then there are some cloud stickers, so I kind of placed a few just to see how that would look, but I do go back later and add a whole bunch more. Now, Molly is still in a crib in the movie, but we don't have cribs, so I did just place a small white toddler bed with a pink blanket on it, and then I placed some toddler-like toys around her bed. Andy's bed in the beginning of the movie does have more of a cowboy theme to it before he switches everything over to Buzz Lightyear. So I did pick this bed that has kind of more of a Western look to it with the colors, but we didn't really have one that specifically matched. I placed a few different clutter items on his desk, like this art box that came from Parenthood, and then there's this little penguin that you can knit in the Nifty Knitting pack. And then of course I also placed the red lamp that knocks Buzz out the window. Between the two windows above Andy's bed, there's actually a clock with Mickey Mouse on it in the movie, but we don't have anything like that, so I just placed a dream catcher here. It's kind of the same shape as that clock, but that's about as close as I could get. And then next to Andy's bed, he does have a little nightstand with a lamp and a dresser. I do start to just place some random toys on top of the dresser, but then I realize that there are some other items on top of that dresser, so I do go back and move those. And I basically just place every toy that is in the game on the floor. Since it's Toy Story, there has to be a ton of toys in this room. And then on top of his dresser, I do end up going back and I placed this globe, which is actually a bar, but we're not gonna let Andy know that. And then to wrap up this wall, I just placed a few more clouds, and that's really about it for this build. So I am going to go through in just a few moments here and do a final walkthrough so you can see everything in first person view. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. It really does help me a lot to keep content coming, and I do like to get videos out every single week. So let me know what your favorite TV shows are, and I will try to create a build from those shows or movies. All right, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye, everyone.